Welcome to our house for another amazing Stories Unwrapped. It's good to be home in Naples after 12 days in the South American country of Colombia. I was speaking from early morning to late evening to university students, professors, seminarians, pastors, other leaders, other people. Thousands gave me the privilege of sharing my heart, of a little bit of my knowledge with them. I was saddened, however, to see a tragedy unfolding in those soaring Andes mountains of Colombia. Some 2 million Venezuelan refugees have streamed across the borders to escape the grinding poverty of failed socialism in their country. Everywhere we went, we saw Venezuelans begging on the streets, begging almost everywhere. At one time, Venezuela, a country rich in oil and other natural resources, was by far the richest country in Latin America. But after its doomed experiment with socialism, it is right now teetering on the edge of collapse and war. And so are its leftist neighbors, Bolivia, Cuba, and Ecuador. Margaret Thatcher was right. Socialism works, as long as you don't run out of other people's money. But it was tragic seeing so many people who wonder if they will survive. I think there are too many people in this world who live on the ragged edge, wondering if they will overcome some financial crisis, some life-threatening illness, some marital or family breakdown, some tsunami that is crashing down in their lives, threatening to wreck everything and wash away their future. Are you one of those? Maybe today you're filled with fears and doubts. Please allow me to share an amazing story from our history, a harrowing story from South America that I hope will encourage you. I call it the River of Doubt. Ted had just suffered one of those rare defeats in his otherwise charmed life. At times like this, Ted always turned to big adventure as his therapy. So he organized a trip down an unexplored and dangerous stretch of the mighty Amazon River. Now, maybe an overweight man of 54 years of age was foolish to challenge such a monstrous river, often referred to as the River of No Return, but danger had always been his drug of choice. So Ted used his fortune to put together a team of intrepid explorers and headed off to the dark jungles of the Amazon River basin. Didn't take Ted's party long to realize that they were just frankly in over their heads. They had hoped to live off the land, but the jungles of South America know how to hide their bounty from intruders. Soon their food supplies were precariously low. Then they lost a couple of canoes to a murderous stretch of rapids. But as always, Ted played the hero. He cursed, pushed, paddled, pulled, and shoved until he rescued the 2 canoes from being crushed by the jagged rocks. But in the process, Ted's leg was ripped open to the bone. Somehow, his exhausted party managed to pull him half dead from the rapids, but by now he was in excruciating pain. Yet the man who thrived on playing the hero refused to show it. He gritted his teeth and then flashed his world-famous trademark toothy smile as if nothing was wrong. What was a nasty gash to a bigger-than-life hero who had chased outlaws in the American Wild West, who had faced down charging bull elephants in Africa, been hit by a runaway streetcar, been shot in the chest at point-blank range by a deranged assassin. Yet Ted was no match for the deadly jungle microbes that were eating away at the mangled flesh of his gashed leg. But the next morning, Ted was burning up with fever, but the rapids were impassable. If the party was going to survive, it would have to hack through thick and deadly jungle. Yet the man who always led the charge was too weak to go on. He knew that he would only slow the party down, and Ted was not the sort of man to be a burden to anyone. In a nearby bag was a vial of morphine. Ted would rather end his life quickly, to go out in a blaze of self-sacrificing glory to give up his life for the good of his party rather than hold them back while suffering a slow and agonizing death. Ted was on the verge of breaking open that vial of morphine when his son Kermit figured out an ingenious way to get their canoes past the rapids. Maybe he shouldn't have tackled the monstrous Amazon River after he lost the presidential election of 1912, but Teddy Roosevelt, thrived on monumental challenges. His indomitable courage and optimism in the face of extreme danger was the stuff of legend, the stuff of Americana. The man who became a war hero when he led his Rough Riders up San Juan Hill in the Spanish-American War. The political superstar who became the youngest U.S. president in American history. The world leader who won the Nobel Peace Prize was bigger than life to his adoring nation. And when he passed away in his sleep, 5 years after his harrowing trip down the Amazon, his former vice president quipped to news reporters, death had to take him in his sleep. For if Mr. Roosevelt had been awake, there would have been quite a fight. No one would have believed that there was a day some 5 years earlier when America's bigger-than-life hero was at the point of suicidal despair, when he was about to break open a vial of deadly morphine to end his life. And maybe, like Teddy Roosevelt, you're on your own river of doubt. Perhaps you feel like giving up the battle. Or like Teddy, you're sure that you're too much of a burden to others. I'm asking you to remember that at the very last moment, when the ex-president was about to end his life, his son Kermit found a solution to getting those canoes past the rapids and speeding Teddy downriver to a place where his life could be saved. There is always a solution to every bad situation, if you will only hold on. It's never over till it's over, and then I don't think it's over. I believe that Teddy Roosevelt would say bully to this: your setback is often a setup for your comeback. I like what St. Paul wrote in a letter to the ancient Christians in the Greek city of Corinth. He said, be strong, be unmovable, always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for him is useless. Or as St. Paul wrote in another place, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And so today, if like Teddy Roosevelt, you're on the river of your doubt, maybe you're up against something that you can't overcome, and being a hero just isn't something you're up to. Maybe today you feel like you're holding everybody back. And so maybe you're on the verge of doing something, maybe not as extreme as breaking open a vial of morphine to commit suicide, but maybe you crawled up in a fetal position and you just decided you're not going on. Maybe you've given up on that dream, that marriage, that child. Maybe the business deal that you thought you'd worked so hard to produce, or whatever project or whatever mission or whatever ministry you're involved in. Maybe you've just decided you can't go on. Like Teddy Roosevelt, up the river without a canoe, without a paddle, on the river of doubt. I want to challenge you today to remember that your setback may be a setup for a comeback. Don't give up the ship. I believe, as I say to you almost every time I'm with you, God is writing your story. And if he's writing your story, the best lines, the best chapters are still ahead. Every story he writes for everybody may have some dark chapters, some scary chapters, but in the end will always be triumphant. It will always end in victory. I love what St. Paul said in another place. We know that in all things, everything works together for good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I believe that for you. I hope you do too. Well, it was good to be with you. You can find this story and so many other great stories in my new book, The 1 Year Book of Amazing Stories. You can get it online at my website, robertapeterson.org. If you send the money for that book, $17, I'll sign it for you. If you want to give it as a gift, I'll sign it for the person you're sending it to, write a little message, and send it off to you. Or you can find my book in Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, I think Amazon.com, and I'm told now in Sam's Book Club. Well, God bless you. We'll see you Thursday at 12:50 West Coast time in the afternoon. God bless.